Okay, live here. Let's see. I want to come live to talk about, does it make sense to pay points? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. We analyze it each individually for everybody, just individual, what makes sense for you. But let's just take a look at a scenario and just examine if it made sense to be paying points. I'm going to do another one on rent versus buy for short-term, long-term, and see what makes sense, because sometimes renting does, sometimes it doesn't. Let's take a look at all that. Everything's individualized for everybody. So let's take a look at this one, though. This is a scenario of buying the rate down because people are looking at rates now and they're very concerned about rates. So does it make sense to pay points or to not pay points and write it out? Again, a lot depends on your situation, but we'll look at this particular situation and see what it looks like. Let's share a screen here. All right, let's see here. That should work. All right, let's get that a little bigger. There we go. So let's take a look. So we're going to look at a scenario here of someone buying a house for $450,000. So right here, $450,000. And we're going to look at different rates from 4.375 to 4.99. And the 4.3, they're going to be paying to buy down the rate. And the 4.9, they're not. So let's say they're saying 0 points at 4.99 and paying maximum, not maximum, you can go even further, but let's just say you're paying a good amount of money to buy that rate down. Does it make sense? Now let's think about it. This borrower, let's say they're going to live in this house for 10 years. So is it going to make sense to buy this rate down and see where they land in 10 years? And we're going to be conservative, but we're going to get an idea of if this makes sense. So right now, currently, the payment would be $2,800 on the 4.375 side, and the 4.99, no points, $3,047. So what that means is we're saving about $157 a month. Going with that, we're going with, if we went 4.5 and on up, you can see the little bit of savings we have. But we're going maximums here, so we can take a look at the scenario, see what makes sense. So we're going to look down here. Short-term savings, looking good. $3,000 in savings there. They're saving at the lower rate versus the 4.99 has the highest payment. Now we're going to look at the net worth. This is where we're looking at what your total net worth would be at the end in 10 years. Looks like right here, the equity position is pretty good, but the asset position is higher here on the 4.99. Why is that? Because we extinguished more money to buy the rate down on the 4.375. So our net worth is less by about $15,000. So right there, roughly, we're looking at a little bit of savings. So our asset position there is $13,000 versus $34,000. So our cash is lower here in the long play. So let's take a look at this. Go back up, and we'll take the payments off. Let's look at the cash to close is $43,000 for this particular scenario and $32,000 for this particular scenario. Interesting. But we have $157 savings. So let's just say you're comfortable making that payment. Let's analyze and see if we just keep the same payment and put this back into our savings and see where we land. So let's jump over and play. So we're going to go down and let's do a little analysis here. And let's take a look at that. So when we had $50,000, I just put $50,000 in our savings to buy this house. You put down the amount out of pocket, which is $43,000 here and $32,000 here, leaving $17,000 left here and $6,500 left here. So you can see extinguished a good amount of money. So leaving in 10 years, $13,000, if you're getting 7% on your return on your money, which is high in a conservative account, but you can still get that. It depends on where you put it, but we're just ballparking. And then $34,000 here is where you would grow that to. No additional money putting back in. Let's throw that 157 back in there. Now we're up to $40,000 back in. So keeping the same payment, so replenishing our money back in, and now we're back up to $40,000. We're beating out where we were just hanging out at 4.99. Let's go and see where this leaves us in the end. So now our payments are the same, minus 86 cents. So now our net worth is 432,000. Our asset position's at 40,000, and our asset position here is at 34,000. So you can increase your net worth a little bit there. So if you're willing to stay at the same payment, you can have a higher asset position there, buying down the rate, keeping the same payment as the no point rate, and still coming out with a higher position here. Let's see what that is. It's 432 minus the 419. So that's about $13,000 a gain. So you can extinguish some, put your money back in, and then you come in on the higher end by the time you're looking to move. And your equity position is even better as well. You have higher equity position as well versus a 385, 391 versus a 385. So you make more money in your sale. Looks like in this particular situation, makes sense to buy down the rate, even in a shorter term of 10 years. Sometimes buying down the rate in the longer term even makes more sense because your interest savings. But even in this shorter term period, that's what we're looking at there. So sometimes it makes sense to buy down the rate, depending on what you're looking for. Now, if you need that payment cushion, that payment safety net of the $157 savings, then maybe the other position does make sense for you. Or if you don't want to extinguish all those money and keep that money in play, then to keep more money and assets to use for something else, then it might make more sense that way. Just your individual scenario. But just looking at this particular situation, that may be the way to go. These are some of the things that we do when we look at people's scenario. We just break down what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and go through the numbers. We'll do another one of these on a rent versus buy, but wanted to show this particular scenario of just buying down rate because it's becoming a question, and so people are interested. So let's take another look. Some people may want to say, "Hey, I want to versus this. I have a savings here of about 13 grand or so. Divide that out by 10, so it's about $88 a month. So you end up paying more per month, but let's just see if we end up better. Oh, we do get more asset position there. We're at $49,000 versus the 40, but your total payment outlay is $88 more a month. But let's just see where our net worth lands. Slightly higher, about $3,000 higher. So you could keep more equity in, more cash equity, more cash assets, and put a little bit more money back in from the savings of all the money you extinguished and come out a little bit more ahead. Although I would probably say this position might be the better one, but again, it's individualized and you can analyze the numbers. We can go all over the place with these types of numbers. So this is just a little bit of what we do when we sit down and try to figure out your particular situation. Wanted to show it to you, see what you think, and just give you some ideas. Does it make sense? Does it not? Sometimes buying down the rate makes sense, especially in an ever increasing interest rate market. Now, again, it's individualized. It depends on how long you plan to live in the house and what your scenario is and how much money you have and what your cash flow scenario is. We look at all of that to kind of figure out where you need to be and do a true mortgage plan so we can manage your debt and your assets to be able to get you in the right financial position. So anyway, if you have any questions, you want some scenarios run on you, let me know. We do all these kind of things. Look at your cash out equity positions, look at the purchase positions, which is the best programs for you, which way do you want to go. I'll be showing some examples of these periodically, just giving you out here so you can see how this all looks. And reach out anytime you have questions. Love to show you and examine your situation and see what we can do for you. Talk to you later.